Okay, today we'll be learning Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, and we're a few lines down from the top. It's about the fifth line, the fifth line down from the top. Omar Rab Achi Bar Chanin, Golui v'Yodua Lifnei Misha Omar v'Hoya Elam. The Eibishter himself knows she'ein b'doyreish Rab Meir kemoisei. There was nobody as wise in his generation as Reb Meir. So if that's the case, how come that they didn't make the halacha should be according to Reb Meir? That because his chaverim, his friends, the other rabbonim, they would not be able to come to the depth of his thought. They couldn't get to the depth of his thought. Because he was able to say on something which is Tomei, he was able to say Toher, and it would give a reason. Marele Ponim would give him a reason. Al Toher Tomei, Umarele Ponim. He could say on Toher that it's Tomei, and he would give a good reason. In other words, of course, he would say what's the correct thing. This is Tomei or this is Toher. But he would also give both sides to the story, whether it's Tomei or not. And whatever reason he would give was so strong that the Chaverim would not be able to say, is that reason is flawed. So he could give a flawed halacha, because he himself would later say, even though we have this reason for it to be Tomei, nevertheless it's Toher. So he would give the halacha, but when he would say Tomei, so therefore they would be able to explain it so well, they wouldn't be able to find any flaws in his argument. And so therefore, they didn't rely on him, because when he disagreed with them, things which he disagreed with them, they knew that even when he's incorrect, they would not be able to find the flaws in him, in his argument. They wouldn't be able to find the flaws. So therefore, they just relied on the way they understood it, and they couldn't rely on him explaining things, because it was just, his explanation was beyond their capacity to disagree with. Tana, we learned in a Brisa, Reb Meir Shmoi, El Reb Neroi Shmoi, that Reb Meir's name was not really Reb Meir. His name was Reb Neroi. Actually, it's a bit similar to Neroi. Neroi also means like, but he was called the Lama Nikra Shemei Reb Meir. Why was he called Reb Meir? Shumeir Einei Chachamim ba'Halacha. He would enlighten the Chachamim in Halacha, because even though they couldn't get the Seif Daitei, but nevertheless, from his explanations, they learned so much when he was explaining the pros and the cons and all. It gave them a lot. So it was Meir Einei Chachamim ba'Halacha, even though they knew that they would not be able to test his arguments, and if he said something, even though he was wrong, they would never be able to refute him. So therefore, they didn't rely on him. But it certainly gave them a lot to think about and a deep understanding. Now the Gemara goes on, according to the Mefarshim, that the Loina Hiroi Shemai. So we now we're switching. Till now we're speaking about Reb Meir. Now it's saying there was another person who was called Reb Neroi, another Amir. And we must say that because it doesn't fit in with the rest of the Gemara later. So the Loina Hiroi Shemai. So this person who used to be called Reb Neroi, his name was not Rebbe Neroi, El Reb Nechemia Shemai. His name was Reb Nechemia. The Amrila and others say Rebbe Loza ben Aroch Shemai. But this Rebbe Neroi, his name was Rebbe Loza ben Aroch. So that's the case. V'lama Nikra Shmei Neroi. Why did they call him Rebbe Neroi? Shemanir Einei Chachamim ba'Halacha. He would enlighten the eyes of the Chachamim in Halacha. So you see that both of them, that the Chachamim, they would name them, not just with the name which was given by the birth, but because of the way which was a description of their knowledge, both for Rebbe Neroi and both for Rebbe Meir. Omar Rebbe, again continuing about Rebbe Meir. Why am I sharper than my friends, and I'm more knowledgeable than my friends, sharper than my friends? That I saw Rebbe Meir from the back, because he managed to sit in the front of the rows, with probably more than one row or whatever. So he saw the Rebbe Meir from the. So he actually managed, even though he was in the back, the Rebbe Meir, but he managed to be right behind him. So therefore, he saw Reb Meir in the back. So therefore, I'm assuming it means that he had extra knowledge from the way he saw how Reb Meir, when he was saying it, how he saw something, even though it was only from the back of Reb Meir. He says, of course, if I would have seen him from the face, I'd have been much sharper. It says, you should see with your eyes, you should see your teacher. Why get to see your teacher? Just listen to your teacher. Why can you see? Because when you see your teacher, you see the expressions on the face. Then it adds to the understanding of the concept which the teacher is expounding. And when you see the back, it must be much more limited. The Teres Chaim actually says that seeing, because I'm just wondering, how much can you see from the back? Maybe you can see something from the back. That's what I said about the front, the face. That is what says the Rishonim say that. But in the back, I'm just wondering how much you can see. But anyway, the Teres Chaim says, we saw the back of Reb Meir. It was the Kedusha, the Shechina which was by Reb Meir. It was closer to the Shechina. He saw the Lekus, the Shechina. So that is what made them, that's the Teres Chaim, the seeing the back. And seeing the front, then it's things which is the Rishonim say that because expressions of face also teach you about what exactly is the meaning of what's being said and they affect your understanding of it. Omer Rebbe Bo, Omer Rabbi Yechon, Talmid Hoyoloi Reb Meir Sumcha Shmei. Reb Meir had a student and his name was Sumcha. Shoyo Omer Kol Dover v'Dover on every single halacha shel Tumah. Sorry, Dover v'Dover shel Tumah. Every single halacha of Tumah, he would give Arboim Shmoine timing. He would give 48 timing. The time of Tumah, the reasons for Tumah. Kol Dover v'Dover shel Tave, and everything which was Torah, he would give Arboim Shmoine Tave. For 48 reasons why it's Torah. The number 48 is, we know there's Nun Shari Bina. It's 50 Shari Bina. You know about Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, Chasreu Ma'at Melikim. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he reached the 49th Darga, and the 50th Darga didn't reach the 50th Darga. It says when he was Nifta, when the Stalik Moshe Rabbeinu, he went on Har Nevei, Har Nunboi, he reached the Darga Chamishim. But B'cholifin, so Moshe Rabbeinu, he was massing, he got the 49 Sharibin. Now, so Sumchas, he got 48 Sharibin, and everything was 48. That means he was just missing one behind Moshe Rabbeinu. Just one point missing behind Moshe Rabbeinu. Talmid Vosik Hoya B'Yavne. Tana we learned. Talmid Vosik Hoya B'Yavne was a Talmid in Yavne. Shoyim Tayres Asheres V'Meya V'Chamishin Taimim. He would take a he would show with the 150 reasons. He would show how a sheret is toher. Faceless and all the Rishonim over here, which I saw, all the Rishonim, I saw a number of them. They all ask, what's the big deal to take a shet, go against the Torah, to say 150 times against the Torah? What kind of way of learning is this? And so Tosfos Be'emes is saying that this was not an incorrect halacha. The intention is not that he wanted to say the sheretz is totally Torah. He wanted to say that the sheretz doesn't have a particular tumah. The tumah which we find by nevela of a chaya, of an animal, by the nevela of an animal, there is tumas masa. If you carry it, even if you don't touch it. Of course, he wasn't matayr touching a sheretz. He was matayr the carrying of a sheretz without touching it. That's what he was matayr, and taka aloch is taka like that. But there's no that the taka there's no tumas masa b'negei to a sheretz, and he gave 150 times for tumas masa. Why it doesn't apply to a sheretz? In other words, he did say according to halacha. That's all the rishonim which I saw over here. Although I say the Teres Chaim says it's a bissel shper, but to say that about Lepoel, I must have seen 8 or more rishonim say that. They were starting with Tosfos, obviously. The kid said, Omer Ravina, so this Talmid Bosik, he gave 150 times in why the tumah doesn't apply to sheretz. I mentioned already what Tosfos says about what type of tumah is it that doesn't apply to sheretz. Omer Ravina said, Ani odem v'ataharen. I will also. The Rabbi also wanted to give a reason to why it's toyer the sheretz, and whatever pshat was said before will apply to Rabbeinu as well. It's how will they prove that it's toyer? He says Uma nochash shemeim is sumar betuma toyer. A nochash which gives tumah, one of the biggest giver of tumah. Yeah, a nochash kills an animal, it kills a person, and the person comes tumah. So who is the one who brings tumah? The one who brings tumah is the nochash. Nevertheless, the poel and nochash is toyer. The nochash, when he dies, is toyer. He's not tumah. He's not a sheretz. He's not a chaya. He's not a behemoth. Is the psukim that to might the nochash. The kid says the nochash is toyer. So the nochash which brings tumah, and he's so terrible. He's such an effective not conductor who is able to spread tumah so much. Somebody who spreads so much tumah, he's tired. Sheret, which is the she'enim emes amar tumah, which doesn't bring so much tumah. It doesn't kill, therefore doesn't bring misa, it doesn't bring tumah. Like kolshkein for sure, sheret shouldn't be tumah. So that's the kal v'chomer. For nochash no metame, for sure sheret is not metame. So says the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Beloy, this kal v'chomer is not a good kal v'chomer. Might say koitz ba'alma. The nochash, doesn't bring the tumah. The tumah comes from misa is tumah or whatever is tumah. He's might say koitz. He's just like a thorn. Like we'll say that if an animal falls on a stone, or if a stone falls on an animal, the stone is bringing tumah. Does it show that there's tumah in the stone? The stone is a stone. There's no tumah in the stone. The stone is, and over then, since it brought it's a kaitz b'alma, it killed it. Once it's dead, the death maybe brought the tumah or whatever it is that brings tumah once you die. But it doesn't mean that the source of tumah is a stone. So this is ma'aseh kaitz b'alma. It's the same thing in nochash. It doesn't mean just because the nochash, when he kills the person who's dead or the animal is tumah, doesn't mean that the nochash brings the tumah. The tumah comes from somewhere else. He's just it's not the cause of the tumah. It came through it, but that's not the source of the tumah. It came through the nachash. Through the activity of the nachash, but not the nachash was the source of the tumah. Okay, so the kids we slug up the kavach. Omar Sholish Omar Shmuel Omar Rabbi Shmuel. So Rabbi said the name of Shmuel. Sholish Shonim 3 years. Nechleku b'shamay b'shila. Was machlekes b'shamay b'shila. Halalo Imre Allah k'meseinu v'Allah Imre Allah k'meseinu. This b'shamay said Allah is like us, and the b'shila said Allah is like us. One had the milad, one was the more learned, and there was the b'shamay, and the b'shila was more roiv. There's more of them. Anyway, so each one said Allah is like us. Yotza Baskel, the Omra, the Baskel came out and said, Eilu ve'eilu divrei likim chayim. They're both divrei likim chayim. They're both the words of the Eibishter. Divrei likim chayim. V'halacha kibeshil. Nevertheless, halacha kibeshil. It's interesting. All the Rishonim, which I saw again, quite a number, 4 or 5 over here, they bring they bring the concept of Eilu ve'eilu divrei likim chayim. They bring the concept that the Eibishter, when he is a medrash, they bring a medrash. Then when the Eibishter gave the Torah, he's on everything or many things. He had memtes ponim l'tor, memtes ponim l'tumah. So many of the halachas was 49 reasons why to be tumah and why to be tor. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to Eibishter, "What should I do?" So is it tumah or tor? Which way? So the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu, go according to the Chachmei Yisrael. Go according to Chachmei Yisrael. What great Chachmei Yisrael will say, that's what the halacha should be. So it's interesting. So we see that the Yisoidai, the way it was given from the Eibush to Moshe Rabbeinu, you can pass like this and a pass like that. And then, what do you do the Payel? The Payel you have to follow what the Rav Chachmei Yisrael will say. And the Ritva adds, Al Pi HaSoid, the things can be understood more. There's more understanding Al Pi HaSoid. So Akol Ponim, so this fits in very much with the way things are explained in Chassidus, that is a shoyrish l'mayla for this way, for that way, etc. Okay. But the halacha lepoy is like bishil. So it says, why would the bishil zocha the halacha should be like them? So it says, they were pleasant and luvim. You could embarrass them and they wouldn't sort of respond back. And then he says like this. So besides that, they were like anovim, etc. They would learn their words and they would also learn the words of Bishamai. In other words, some Bishamai, one of the Mefarshim explains it this way, that Bishamai, they would have it as Shita and they wouldn't care about Bishil. But Rashi says that they would, Rashi explains, but gave to Bishil, that they would learn their words and not then they would listen to Bishamai, what Bishamai is saying, and they would make sure to have an answer for Bishamai. In other words, they took the opinions of Bishamai into account. Sometimes you have some styles of some people who are very learned in Torah, they have their opinion and they don't listen to anybody else. So that, whatever, because they know their value and so on, they don't listen to everybody else. But at the end of the day, there is a value to be had to listening to the other side as well. Because when you listen to the other side, then you see maybe there's something value which overrides what you're thinking, and therefore you end up having a better type of learning. So according to the one of the Mefarshim, so he explains it that this was like a better learning. Because when you can learn the Gemara and say Zochel means a schos. The schos, because I know him, there was Zeicha that the Pascal came out to in their side. But also in the actual learning, there's a miler that you're listening to the other people and you have to make sure you have an answer for them. Otherwise, you don't go further. So then, whatever you say is going to be a better quality. Anyway, not only that, they would mention Bishama's words before their own words. And it's going to bring a story. What's that? They would, where you see that they brought first Bishamai, quoted first Bishamai, then they spoke their own words. Somebody who is sitting in a sukkah, the Rosh of the person is in the sukkah, which is fine. But the only problem is that the shulchan is in the house. The shulchan is in the house. Therefore, there's a chash that maybe he will bend out. Since the shulchan is in the house, the chash that maybe he will bend out into to eat over the shulchan, and his head won't be in the. It will be in the house and not in the sukkah. So who's chayshish for this? The Shammai plays and say it's possible. But still machshirin. So the Shammai, because of the chash, that he'll bend out into outside the sukkah, they say it's possible. And the Sil says kosher. Omru b'Sil b'Shammai. So the Sil said b'Shammai loika chayamaisa. The Sil said, well, wasn't there a story that we saw somebody that Taka, his house was in the sukkah, some great person? That the elders of B'Shammai. Now this is who's speaking now. Who's speaking? Bishil is speaking to B'Shammai. And what are they saying? What the language? What they're saying? Omer B'Shal B'Shammai loika chayamaisa. Wasn't this the story? They didn't say Zikne B'Sil, Zikne B'Shammai. They first mentioned B'Shammai and then they mentioned B'Sil. So you see that when they spoke, they would be magdim the words of B'Shammai to the words of B'Sil. That's from this piece. That's a quote from their words. They say Zikne B'Shammai, Zikne B'Sil. The kids, when Zikne B'Shammai B'Sil went to Labakras of Yechanan ben Achirnis, they went to visit Rabbi Yechanan, the big Bela Hadar, and they said, oh, Yeshev. He was sitting, Taka, the shulchan was in the house, and Rosh Hashanah was in the sukkah. So you see, it's kosher. Omrim B'Shammai said, B'Sham Raya, that's Raya. That's not a Raya. Why? He did that. True. He did that. He was sitting. His what's it called? Shulchan was in the house. But what did our Chacham tell him? The Zikne B'Shammai told him, Im Kacha Yisrael. If that's the way you used to behave always. Like you were never mekayim the mitzvah sukkah. The kids are hadvarim, so they were noichim because they are novel. So they were anovim. That's why there was zeicha that the halacha is like them. The lamdach to teach you shekol amashkel atzmi, somebody who lowers himself. Hakadosh Baruch Hu makbiyah, the Eibishter raises him. The kol makbiyah atzmi, and everybody who raises himself, Hakadosh Baruch Hu mashpila, the Eibishter lowers him. The kol machazer achagdula, and somebody who wants to have a genuine from cover the gedula of some big position. They runs away from it. The Gedula run away from Gedula, Gedula Machazer Saka. The Gedula comes after him. Somebody who needs to have things now. It needs now. Things are not the things won't work out for him now. He needs to have it right away immediately. It won't work out for him now. So he has time. Okay, now he's not doesn't have that. He's not being given that. Say that he'll wait. The time will come and he will get what he needs. Tonu Rabbanon, we learned the Bryce. Stay Shani Lamachta 2.5 years left to the Shabbos Hill. Was Machlekes Shabbos Hill. Halal Oimed all say no Yachol Adam Shlei Nibra Yesh Shnibra. So those would say that a person better is not created than is created. There's so many opportunities of not doing the mitzvahs and having an einish, the mitzvahs and averos is so therefore the better a person will not be created than is created, then it can be it's so easy for him to be nichshel in doing the wrong thing. The others would say you have opportunity to do things. So it's better the person is created than he's not created. The kids nimnu v'gomru. So once it happened, they had enough people and they made a vote. So the kids had a vote. When they had a vote, it was the maskana was noyach leila adam shaloi nibra yosef shnibra. It's better for a person that was not created than he was created. I must say that the Alter Rebbe teaches in the Torah that noyach leila adam doesn't mean it's better for him. Of course, it's better to be created. Hashem created was a good thing. It means it's easier. That's what it says, because it's not so difficult to live up, because it's not so easy at all. So Noach says it does not mean better. The Alter Rebbe says Noach means it's easier. Of course, it's better to create it, because then you do and you can do tshuva and so on and so forth. So it's Noach le'lo adam shlo nivra yesh mishnivra. The kid of achshav shenivra. So it's easier, or whichever way you touch this. Of achshav shenivra now is created. You fash with myself. Your fashbis b'maisav means he should check, he should do tshuva, check in the maisav. Yeah, this he did wrong, this he did wrong, and he's got to do tshuva. That's your fashbis b'maisav. The amri law and some say your mashbis b'maisav. If your fashbis b'maisav is l'sha'avar, because in the past, you have to check your maisav from time to time, check your maisav, see what the tikkun and the tshuva, because you may have done certain averos. And the others say your mashbis b'maisav, he should go to the future. He should like feel the maisav, weigh them up. How much is he going to benefit from not doing the mitzvah? How much will he benefit from doing the mitzvah, etc. Schar mitzvah, negative seder, etc. He's going to weigh them up. He should realize, and then he'll get his priorities right. He weighs them up. He realizes the mile of the mitzvah and the sorrow for avera. So then he'll do the right thing. Going ahead, he'll do the right thing. The kids are that's the to that conflict. Okay. Now it becomes a mishnah. Akira she'omru. When you get to Akira, that we say that one of the ways to makar a is by putting the Torah across the entrance of the mavui. So the chava has to be wide. The beam has to be wide in order to be able to accept half a brick. What's a riach? It has to be able to the size that can accept a half a brick of 3 tvachim, which means 1.5 tvachim. Bekitzer, dayo lekayra sheder chava tefach lekabel ariach lerochel. Which means the beam only has to be a tefach. So the beam has to be a tefach. Then, so you can place in it a brick which is half a tefach. So it says that this. So this machlokes over here. Rechava kedei lekabel ariach ubriya kedei lekabel ariach. The Tanakama holds it has to be wide, which is a tefach. So you can put the half a brick. And the Gemara will explain that the bit of the brick is protruding on the sides, but it doesn't matter. It has to be wide enough, which the tefach to accept the brick, also strong enough to take the weight of the brick. It also has to be. And the Kitzer Advarim, it seems from Rashi that the kaira, in order to qualify as a kaira, it has to be something which looks like part of a structure, of a permanent structure. So it looks like part of a permanent structure. So if it's strong enough, they can be able to put a brick on it. No, so that means that it's like, okay, it's not the structure, it's not complete, but it's part of a structure. It gives it a certain permanence to it, and when it's strong enough to keep a brick, it's a permanence. It's part of like I said, of a structure. Only then is it kosher to be a koira. I might well mention that many of the Rishonim, or quite a lot of the Rishonim, they say it means not just one brick to put on it. He has to be able to take a whole line of bricks to put on the koira. But the Rambam Lepoel doesn't say that. And the Rambam quotes the Mishnah as it is, so it's quite clear from the Rambam that it only has to be strong enough to accept one brick. Okay. Right. But Rabbi Yehuda says, Rechava, just the width has to be to take a brick. But it doesn't have to be strong. It doesn't have to be strong, it can be a weak piece of structure, as long as the width. So it's enough to have a tefach, even though it's weak. It's going to be an example. Was made from straw or sticks like canes or whatever. It's very nice. You look at it as if it's from metal. It's made from straw. That doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be strong to be able to accept the weight of a brick, as long as it has the right size. Okay. And now another thing. So this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. According to most Rishonim, the next piece is everybody agrees on it. It's not just Rabbi Yehuda, that even the Chacham agree on that. What's the next piece? Two dinim. If it's crooked, if the curve is crooked, the crooked one. So you look as if it's if it's pshuta. If it's Rashi says if it's crooked, so therefore it can't take a brick on it. So you look as if it's straight. I'm imagining. I don't know. Maybe you'll see another Persian article or something. But I'm imagining that it's like you take a branch. You put a branch on it, so it's crooked. You can't really put on many branches. You won't be able to put a brick. It would fall off because. So even if it's crooked, or not a branch is round. Well, it's not a problem. So it's not a branch, but something else which is crooked and therefore so there's bumps and all things on the way. There's bumps and all bent, the wood is bent and bumpy and etc. A number of these things, and the Gemara will speak about it a bit more. But it's actually a bit bendy one way or another, not particular way. So it's a bendy piece of wood, and therefore Rashi said you can't even put the brick on it. It won't lie. So you look as if it's straight. Agula, same thing a round one. You can't really put the brick on it on the round because it will just fall down. It's round. Nevertheless, so look as if it's square. Now there's the fact that since whether it's crooked, so you imagine that you cut out the bad parts and you just leave it a nice thing. If you're able to do that, then that will be kosher. The same things with agula. As if it's a square and if it's the correct size, as we'll see in a second, so then it's kosher for a payra. And what's the size? It says kol sheyesh bekefish loishet tvachim yesh bereichav tefa. If you have the perimeter of the wood, or the round piece of wood, or whatever it is the perimeter of the round of the. We're talking about a long piece of wood which you put as a payra, and then but it's round, so you can roll it. Whatever. So if the perimeter is 3 tvachim, that means that the diameter will be a tefach, and if the diameter is a tefach, diameter is what goes around. If the diameter is 3 tvachim, so then the roichev is a tefach. The roichev is the radius is half the roichev, twice the radius. I don't know what we call that. That line which is twice the radius will be a tefach. So therefore, there's a tefach in there, and therefore it will be kosher. Okay, and sorry for the noise.
Diameter.
Oh, the diameter is a halfway thing. Circumference. Sorry,
no.
Circumference. If the circumference, my geometry is right. If the circumference is 3, the diameter will be 1. Yeah.
No,
if the circumference is 3,
the
diameter will be 1.
Times